Tremendous opportunity. It's historically one of the most profitable industries in the world. We start taking those profits, redistributing them across the team. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of Dream Firm Spotlight. My name is Tyler S. Clark, co-founder of Dream Firms, where we help you to do this crazy thing called create your dream accounting, bookkeeping, or tax firm by allowing you to work only with your dream clients. But even when we do that, there is this problem that is seeping through the industry, which is how can we get the work done? Nobody wants to be accountants anymore. Tyler, if you're on social media, you see it all the time. Nobody wants to be an accountant anymore. So what's going on? What's going on? What is the real reason that people don't want to be CPAs, accountants, or tax professionals? And is this even true? Or is it just something that's a contagion in social media? So between 2021 and 2031, on average, about 136,000 openings for accountants and auditors are projected each year, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the openings are due to workers leaving the field for different occupations or retiring. Now, it is well known and established that the CPA demographic is an aging demographic, and a lot of people are exiting the profession. Now, this is where a piece of data gets a little interesting here. So for this year, the number is about 21,400 through June, and that's an 11.6 drop from the same period the prior year. So this is data that's been analyzed by Revelio Labs. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And this year marks the first year the number of leavers has decreased rather than increased since 2019. So there's a potential that it's starting to come a little bit back up since really kind of like peak COVID in 2019. Another cool tool, and I just finished a big training in this inside of the Dream Firms Network on a market research tool to help you to understand what's going on in your space, both in the accounting and tax space, but also in your dream client and the niche you're targeting. If you've never hopped into Google Trends and played around for like 10 to 20 minutes at a minimum of just like plugging in data and seeing like what people are searching and Googling, it is really, really interesting. And so I'm going to share my screen here for one quick second and show you what we consider to be some interesting data points about accounting and CPAs. And so we plugged in three primary search fields. We plugged in accounting jobs, which is at the top. And so this is from 2018 until today. And so it was at quite a peak prior to that. You can see that there's some uncertainty right in kind of, again, that COVID time period right around here. And it starts to level off. You can see it going down, but it's starting to creep back up. Same thing with how to be a CPA. Notice how low this line is compared to accounting jobs. And then accounting degrees is relatively consistent across the board. So I bring this up because the alarm bells of no one wants to be a CPA or an accountant, somewhat true. But in the United States for the past 5 years, the data is trending a little down, but not enough for me to say, I don't think that we're going to not be able to have people be accountants and no one wants to be an accountant. However, there are a few things that are preventing people from joining the profession, because just because they're searching and Googling these things usually means they're getting informed about whether they should pursue the career, what's available to them in it, and what the roadblocks are. So there are 4 really big issues with becoming an accountant, okay? So number 1 is low starting salaries. And the reason we have low starting salaries is because we're not billing the appropriate amounts to our clients. If you're using an hourly billing model, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're not even keeping pace with inflation, generally speaking, when you're using an hourly billing model. If you're not raising your rates on your clients, you can't raise the low starting salaries to be able to come into the profession. So people are looking at that and they're going, if I'm going to apply a lot of time, energy, and effort into developing this skill set, a skill set that people don't have when they're getting ready to come into the field, they have to be able to say it's worth it in the short term and the long term. Because what happens if I don't like the work? Which is true for a lot of people when they get into accounting. They go through the training, they go through the schooling, they get into the grind mill of the big 4, right? And they're like, and they burn them and churn them in 2 years. And then that talent leaves and goes into another profession. I'm also going to bring up a really interesting stat that I found out about the Big Four, which is crazy. So low starting salary, just to give you some data points for this. So the average entry level staff accountant salary in the United States is $60,901 as of July 25th, 2023. But the range typically falls between 55K to 67K. Now, the average entry level financial analysis salary is $64,000. So that's a $4,000 swing between financial analysis and accountant. Now that may not sound like a lot, but for people who are getting ready to make potentially a big decision, that is a lot of money. I mean, would you rather have $4,000 more or less at the end of the year? I'm also going to cover another point in a little bit about the ridiculousness of overtime work in the accounting space that does not apply as well or as equally to the financial analyst space, but it's $64,000 and the range typically falls between $58,000 and $71,000. And finance is the next closest degree that we can reasonably compare this to. So let's talk about what I consider to be the biggest barrier of entry to accounting and getting more people involved in it. People talk. If you want to feel bad, go look at the accounting subreddit on Reddit. The things that people are saying that they're getting put through to be a member of this profession, and this is largely Big Four, but it is regional firms too, right? It's not just the Big Four. It's an absolute grind stuff. It's just a grind. It's a constant grind. And here's the thing is, in a typical season, accountants can work anywhere from 50 to 80 hours a week without overtime pay as a general rule. So imagine this conversation, if you will. Okay, so there's the younger people who are definitely on Reddit, who are looking at these threads, who are using these data points to make decisions about whether or not they should join the profession at all. Then think about a completely different segment of the audience. Okay, let's imagine the tradesman, okay, the person who's used to swinging the hammers, has been breaking their body down to be able to build things. And they're saying, I can't continue this. And that's a very sad place to be. And when they're sitting around the dinner table and discussing potential career paths or alternatives, and they go, you like numbers, you like measuring, making sure everything's right. What about accounting? And go, that sounds interesting. This is probably a union guy or gal. And they go, all right, let's check it out. And then they see there's no such thing as overtime pay. Do you think they're coming into the space? Do you think they're going to be like, you know what? You were just breaking your back over here. Let's go break your mind over here and not get paid for the extra hours that you were working. They're going to be like, no. There's got to be another place that pays overtime when you're working way over 40 hours a week. There has to be one. Accounting is now immediately eradicated from that person to potentially come into the field, even at a later point in their career. That to me is a huge one. Every time I read that as true, I'm like, how is this true? How is this possible? And it would dramatically change how the industry operates. I believe we just remove that one thing, which is for some reason, you don't get overtime pay as an accountant. It's crazy. Lawyers working typically 42 to 54 hours a week, right? So there's just, again, when you look at comparisons of like other professional services, I can see why people aren't coming in. Another big one. So, okay, maybe I want to become an accountant. And in that career track, I say CPA gives me a pay bump, right? When I become a CPA, that means that I get to make more money. I have a higher level of prestige and respect. I gain access to maybe jobs that would have been withheld from me without that certification or designation. And we come up to the 150-hour rule. Now, the 150-hour rule is arguably one of the most hotly debated things on social media, like as if somehow like people are even aware of the 150-hour rule before they get into accounting. But let's say that is true for a second. And the typical degree is only going to require 120 hours, which means you're asking me to do an extra semester plus to not even get a higher level degree, right? Like not even level up the degree that I'm getting, but just so that I can qualify for the CPA designation, I have to go into further debt for school, like the worst type of debt there is right now in America. You're asking me to get more of that type of debt to qualify, to just be able to like get this designation. And that includes a super hard test that I've got to pay a bunch of resources generally for to be able to pass, that has a really high fail rate. You're asking me to do all that? So again, it's like, it's another one where it's just like, just bring it to 120, just like make it a bachelor's degree. Like, can we please just get it to 120? It's really not even like, that's not even outlandish of a change to make. All right, so on the 150-hour credit, I want to give some credit where credit is due. So there was a report released by the Illinois CPA Society and its charitable partner that focuses on the firsthand experiences of alumni. Mary T. Washington Wiley internship preparation program, which helps Black and other racial and ethnic minority college students achieve success in securing their first accounting internship and or full-time positions and pursuing the CPA credential. The CPA's profession's lack of diversity was cited as the most prevalent barrier to success in a survey of the program's alumni, followed by lack of inclusiveness. Research indicates that the 150-hour credit requirement is seen as a barrier across the board, but it's more conspicuous for Black and Hispanic non-accounting students, particularly students who considered accounting but opted out, meaning they looked at accounting and they said, could be a good career path, but they want elsewhere specifically due to the extra credit hour requirement. So look, the space needs more people, period. And it will certainly benefit from more people with diverse backgrounds. So when we're looking at these sort of statistics, we have to be asking ourselves, how can we make meaningful changes? And I'm going to give you a few of them, okay? So number one, there's a call for change from Ignition, and that's cool, but the change comes from you. You know the changes you got to make, okay? Starting salaries are low because prices are low. Prices are not controlled by staff. They're controlled by ownership. And I only talk to the owners, generally speaking, right? Like I'm talking to you guys, the ones who have the control to be able to raise prices so that you can pay staff what you need to attract talent. And on the talent side, a lot of people like to try and find low cost solutions. I'm a fan of making sure that, hey, we can leverage outsourced labor when appropriate, for sure. But certain positions require high level skills, and a lot of those skills are developed specifically inside of the United States. So when you're getting ready to hire A+ talent, my promise to you is that you go slightly above market value, 10, 20% above market value. The return you get on someone that that is an A+ player, has the ability, wants to do the job, and is incredibly well compensated, is worth so much more than the extra 10 to 20% that you pay to get that person. That's how we start to raise everything that we got going on. Pay top talent more, charge more for the services that we've got, that we're offering right now, and that allows us to also raise base pay levels across the board. Next point. CPA Society, like the chapter in Illinois, needs to put more pressure on the AICPA at large, okay? AICPA is largely a lapdog for the Big Four. Why? Because they push the most CPAs through the pipeline, right? So just look at who they've got, who's paying the most dues, that's who they're listening to the most. And so if they're pushing the most people through that, and they're creating the pipeline problem by pushing them out because of how they treat them, we've got to get rid of this overtime nonsense that we can't pay people overtime. It is insane to me. It is absolutely insane. 56,000 people collectively left the Big Four, up 8.3 a year earlier. That is a massive, and again, they may be getting other jobs in different spaces. I recognize that. But that can't be something that's like considered just like a healthy metric that we should support. And I can only imagine that if they're getting paid for overtime, we're going to keep that talent. Okay. So look, there are a lot of things that we can do, but the best thing we can do is make sure that when people come into your firm, and I'm talking to the small people, the ones that actually implement change that will be the big firms of tomorrow. When someone comes into your firm, they have to feel welcome. They have to be included. They have to feel like they're part of a team. They have to know what their responsibilities are. They have to be well compensated. And when I say well compensated, above the minimum, above the average. And you will get so much more in return from it. That's it. That's it. Accounting is an amazing career. Tremendous opportunity. It's historically one of the most profitable industries in the world. We start taking those profits, redistributing them across the team. We raise our prices so we become even more profitable, and the whole space wins. That's what I've got for you today for the real reasons that people don't want to be CPAs. I hope you enjoyed this. If you got any questions, drop them down in the comment section down below. And if there's something else that you think is a contributor to why people don't want to be CPAs, let me know. I want to know your opinion as well. And if I'm going to summarize this, I'm going to summarize it with a tweet from Jeremy Wells. He's on Twitter. He's got a great profile. Go check him out and go follow him. But essentially, I'm going to paraphrase it here. The reason for the CPA shortage is due to a bad business model and ineffective leadership. So if you feel like you've got a bad business model, hourly billing, low quality clients, feel like you're getting compressed from commoditization, you got to be a better leader. We have effective leadership. We have better business models, different business models from what's done historically. These problems go away very, very quickly. My name is Tyler S. Clark. Thank you so much for your most precious resource. Remember, only you can create your dream firm, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic rest of your workday, everyone, and make sure that you are contributing to the growth of the profession, not the decline.